and welcome back to the Busby Way Podcast in what is set to be another riveting review of some riveting Manchester United football in probably one of the most famous weeks that we've had in a long time. Not for the right reasons, unfortunately. Manchester United had two games this week. They played Middlesbrough in the FA Cup and Burnley in the league, both of which winning neither, which, I mean, comes to a shock to most Manchester United fans and not a good shock. Let's put it that way. They played Middlesbrough at the weekend, and they ended up going to penalties with them after extra time and lost on penalties. Where do we start? We'll start with that. Obviously, we'll start with the Middlesbrough match, but where do we start in that match, Chris? Because it's not exactly like we played a youth team. I said I'd understand it more if you'd have looked at that and thought, oh, maybe United played a weaker side, but they didn't. Probably the only rotation there was Henderson for David De Gea, and that was about it. They even had Pogba come back in, so arguably it was stronger than what they normally have. Yeah, what do you think? What do you make of that game?
Yeah, it was. I think they sort of started quite well, didn't they? Creating a lot of chances, hit the bar within a couple of minutes. Then, obviously, we had the penalty which Ronaldo put wide. We got the goal. We still created chances after that, but we couldn't put it in net. Wasteful, really. That first half really should have been 4-5-0 up. Should have been done, dusted, and they could have just coasted through the rest of the game. But that wastefulness cost them. They didn't really create much after the half time, really. And extra time, they were poor. Didn't do anything. I thought in extra time, I was like, well, Middlesbrough played a lot of game recently. We should have the fresh legs and ultimately the quality to create chances and get a goal, but never happened. And then, penalties is, all cliche, it's a lottery. The standard across the board was high until Alanga, sadly. The fact that I think it was the 8th and 9th player to take one, means he never fancied it anyway. And obviously he's got it horribly wrong. Obviously, we'll point to the fact that the goal should never have stood in a million years, but we shouldn't blame it on that. Ultimately, the game should have been won. Yes, that decision is terrible. It's a handball. Yeah, he might not have completely meant it. And yeah, he didn't put it in the net, but you're telling me that he's not gained an advantage by controlling it with his hands. It was a ridiculous decision. But yeah, they shouldn't have had any bearing on the game. We should have been 4-5-0 up. But I said in the last podcast, Borough will cause us problems, and they did cause us problems. They had a couple of other chances as well to actually win the game outright. It just wasn't good enough again. Apart from sort of that first half an hour where we should have scored more goals. So yeah, disappointing. Another year without a trophy. So yeah, it's a big blow again.
Well, I was just going to say that was going to be my next question. Do you think now that we're out of that FA Cup, that's it now for a trophy season? How do you think that reflects on Ralph Rangnick's chances of keeping his job next year?
Well, we're not winning Champions League. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
I know there was that year that Chelsea won it, having changed manager and doing poorly in the league and whatnot, but I don't think the quality across the board in Europe was as high as it is now. Yeah, there's too many top teams. I can probably think of 4, 5, 6 that I think stand a better chance of winning it. So yeah, it would be a major upset if we went and won the Champions League. So yeah, I think the only thing we can go for now is top 4. We've got to get that. If we don't get that, then it's an absolute disaster of a season. Yeah, I don't think it will do Ralph any favours in terms of if he wants the job full time. He's not looking like he's going to get it because the football's not really inspiring anybody right now. I can see a sort of a development in terms of the way we want to go about things, but we just don't have the players to do it. So yeah, I don't think, based on what we're seeing so far, Ralph is going to be the man next season. In terms of the head coach manager, obviously we know he's going to go upstairs. So I think the sooner that happens, the better in reality, because it's fast becoming a bit of a write-off now after this latest setback.
Well, yeah, we had another setback as well. In the week, we played Burnley and we drew 1-1 at home. No, sorry, at Turf Moor. It wasn't at home; it was at Turf Moor. We always say Burnley's a tough place to go, but it's still a game you expect to win, especially given Burnley's position in the league this year. Maybe a Burnley of old, you'd probably been like, "Well, Burnley." It's more understandable, but not as much as this year. I think this year you expect to win at Burnley, especially given their form. We previewed it last week and said what was wrong with Burnley this season. But before I go into like the implications of that draw, what did you make of the game in general? Did you see a slight improvement from the Middlesbrough game, or was it just more of the same? Because there wasn't many changes to the team. Ronaldo was dropped to the bench, and David De Gea was brought back in. But apart from that, it was relatively the same team. There was no massive changes to the squad. Did you see an improvement in that Burnley game, or what did you make of it in comparison to Middlesbrough one?
I thought it was very similar in many regards, because I thought we started really well. So we had a goal chalked off for offsides. It was slightly dubious. I think, obviously, when I watched it back, it looks as though Maguire might have blocked the defender from an offside position. So I think that's why they've chalked it off. But on another day, they get away with it. Obviously, then score. We have another goal chalked out for offsides, and Cavani's he's missed a sitter. Let's be honest. So again, could have been on another day 3-4-0 going into the break, because Burnley offered nothing in that first half at all. And then come out second half and we started horrendously. We conceded within 2 minutes. Could have been 2-1 down, but for a great save from David again. And from then on, we sort of created half chances rather than anything clear cut, other than Varane having a back heel inside the 6-yard box, which was blocked by Ben Mee, I think it was. Yeah, I think it was very, very similar pattern of the game. There was a lot of frustrating moments as well, where they give the ball away. Pogba had a good first start, to be fair. I'll give him a bit of credit. Got the goal, obviously. Second half, he was poor. I thought a couple of times he just threw himself to the ground and was sat there watching, thinking, "What are you doing, mate?" So yeah, there's a lot of frustrating moments again in that one. Not capitalising on chances and not being great in possession in key moments again. So yeah, it was 2 poor results. Obviously, the worst one was Borough. Obviously, we got something out of the Burnley game, which I suppose is the slight positive. But it's a game we should have won. Even on the balance of play, we should have won. I think we just switched off in key moments, and like I said, didn't take the chances once again.
Yeah, you mentioned when we were discussing the Middlesbrough game there that United have a lack of quality players, and for me, the question is, my question for you is, what needs to change? Because we've constantly said that United haven't got the players, and we were backed in the summer. In all fairness, to be fair to the Glazers, they did back us in the summer. We have got world-class talent in that squad now. You look from probably goalkeeper to the strikers. You've got David De Gea, Rafael Varane, Paul Pogba, Bruno Fernandes, Cristiano Ronaldo. You've got world-class players in that squad. You've got leaders in that squad, which is something that we've said that maybe is why we struggled before, because we didn't have leaders. But now I'm coming to a point where with this squad where I don't know what needs to change. I really don't know what needs to change, because they seem to try to implement a system with Rangnick, and then that was not the right system. So what do we do? I know I'm not expecting you to come up with a miracle there, Chris, and otherwise they'll be hiring you for the job. But
yeah,
what do you think needs to change in that Manchester United dressing room, or that squad in general?
I think obviously it clearly needs some sort of identity plating into it. A set style of play. This is how we're going to do it. If you don't like it, tough, leave. We know exactly how Liverpool are going to play. We know exactly how City are going to play. We're starting to see exactly how Tottenham are going to play, for example. We know how Brighton are going to play. Brighton, the mid-table team.
Yeah.
Wolves, we know how they're going to play. There's clear identities for a lot of teams. We still don't have one. We've got the same issue we've had for a long time we're not able to break down defenses and sit back and are compact. And then when we open up, we're not good enough to compete with the big boys. So, yeah, I suppose you point at the area that we've been saying for a long time: central midfield, central defence, potentially fullbacks. But yeah, I think a big thing is that sort of style and knowing what every role within the team is and what that player has to do, and when they all come together, this is how we play football. There just seems to be still a lot of disjointedness. Because I'm a firm believer, if you've got the right style, the right approach, everybody knows their jobs, exactly how they want to play. You don't necessarily need the greatest players in the world to be able to do that. If you can execute a game plan correctly and execute a style correctly, you can compete. In the FA Cup, we saw Kidderminster play exceptionally well against West Ham by executing a game plan, executing a style. We still don't seem to have that about us. So whether that comes from manager or whether that's from the players and whether the players are buying into what the manager is trying to do, I still don't know, which is a worry when we've been saying this for, years as fans, really.
I must admit, I think for me, we've seen progression. I think when we were under like Van Gaal, we bought players because they were names and they didn't fit the system and they didn't fit a position we needed. They bought like Di Maria, they bought Sanchez. They didn't exactly need those positions or those players. Then when we got to Ollie, we bought players we needed for a position we needed, but not for a system. And I think now we're slowly getting to the place where we've miraculously realised as a club we need to have a manager who has a system and you buy players for the positions you need in that system. I think that's now where they need to go, because at the minute we've got a great squad of players in the correct positions, but all don't suit the same system, which is... Have you lost me? Did you lose me there?
Momentarily. We'll get you back now.
Am I here?
Got you back now, yeah.
Okay. I was essentially saying, good. I was essentially saying that under, now we've got a group of good talent and a group of world-class players, but all that don't want to play the same system or can't physically play the same system because they're different types of players. When this new manager comes in, he needs to make the decision of what his system is, whether it's Rangnick or I don't think it will be, but whether it's Rangnick. I think personally it's between Pochettino and Ten Hag. They both apparently are leaving their clubs at the end of the season, so it'll be one of those two. Whoever comes in early on has to decide their system and decide what roles they want the players to play. And if the players don't suit that system, they get rid of them. They simply get rid of them and bring in players who are going to play into their system. I think that's what needs to happen. I think that would be my fix. Because, we've got some big games coming up. I know we've got Leeds away coming up, and then we've got Atletico Madrid in the Cup and the Champions League. So, there's some big games coming up, and they need to turn that form round. And I can't see it turning round because, they've got a lot of issues that seem to be arising in that squad. One of which, I think, for me, is Harry Maguire. I think Harry Maguire is a player that needs to be addressed urgently. He was on poor form. And he was dropped for a while, and then they brought him back into the squad a few weeks back, and he looked good. He looked good in his first game. I can't remember who it was against. I think it was Villa. Was it Villa? Yes, yeah. And he came in and looked quite good. And then against Burnley, he was just, he was probably at fault for the goal. He was out of position. He came forward and ended up clashing, I think, with McTominay. So, what needs to happen with Maguire? Does he need to be maybe take that pressure of captaincy off him, or I don't know what the solution is, Chris. Again, I'm going to come to you asking for miracles. What do you think the solution for Maguire is?
Yeah, I think taking the captaincy away from him might just relieve a bit of pressure on him, and sort of enable him to just focus on his game and not trying to influence others. I don't think he's a particularly strong captain anyway in terms of leadership qualities. There's very few in the squad that I would say have that. Maybe look at, obviously, Ronaldo is an option. De Gea is an option because the amount of times he's come to the team's rescue. And McTominay's probably got the leadership qualities I think would be good. Whether he's ready to be a captain, I don't know. But yeah, I think with Maguire, just taking that role off him would probably benefit him. But you got to do it in the right way. You can't just take it away from him, and sort of knock his confidence. You got to have the conversation with him and be like, "Look, we actually think it might be better for your game that we take this responsibility elsewhere." So, be interested to see how that gets handled. Probably by the next manager, as much as anything. I don't see it happening mid-season because I think that is the sort of thing that he could ruin a player, in terms of their confidence. But in the off season, it makes sense. If you're going to make a change like that, you make it in, first week of pre-season, you go, right, you're going to be my captain. And then that allows them to set an example in the pre-season, in the training and going forward. And, allows them to, get on board with the dressing room, get them to, because I think you need that strong personality as a captain because of the dressing room, because that's an important part of the squad, that dressing room mentality. Roy Keane will have had high standards he expects from his fellow teammates, and he would have enforced them as well. I think you need somebody like that, which is few and far between in the modern era, I think, and especially in this dressing room. I don't think you've got anybody who would pull up a player for not pulling his weight, and I think that's the sort of person that's needed in that dressing room right now. A Roy Keane, a Gerrard, a Carragher type person.
Who's out there though? Other than Ronaldo, I don't think there's anyone out there that would be like that. And I mentioned there Ronaldo. He's at the minute he's probably on poorest form of his career. I think this is the first time he's gone a 5-goal game drought in a league since 2010. I think I saw that stat somewhere. And there's a lot of talk about fans getting a bit hacked off at him for running down the tunnel before and not saying goodbye to fans, which he was guilty of again against Burnley. Is that maybe the attitude that you want as a captain? If you're not with the team, you think you're above the team? I don't know. I don't know what you think, Chris, about that.
Yeah, I agree there, to be honest. It's not the right mentality and the right attitude. The captain should be the last person to leave the pitch, not the first. He should be the one telling others to go and clap the fans and that sort of thing. We've seen captains in the past do that thing where they've dragged a player back to clap the fans and stuff. So, that's not the right way to go about things from him. And I can understand why fans are getting frustrated with him because, he's not living up to what we wanted.
He's not, but he's still our top scorer. So
says everything. Says everything, that really.
It does. Well, looking forward anyway, the game coming up at the weekend is Southampton on Saturday morning. I think it's 12 o'clock kickoff, 12:30 kickoff, isn't it? Yeah, it is. Yes, because I'm going, so I should know that.
At least should be early.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. Oh God. Yeah, the train is very early that I am getting to Manchester on Saturday morning. But yeah, Southampton are a team this year that I think a lot of people expected to go down, and I think a lot of people's predicted 20 for the order of who will finish where. A lot of people had Southampton in about that relegation zone, but they haven't done that bad this year. They've managed to stick around the mid-table spot and done all right. What do you expect from them on Saturday? Do you reckon they'll come and follow a similar game plan to maybe Burnley and try and nick a point against us? Or do you think they could go for the 3 now? Do you think they've even got the belief to go for 3 points against us?
I think they'll fancy it. They've gone to the Etihad and got a point this season, I think. And they've got the players, and they're another side who seemingly know what they're going to do game to game. I think it's weird to say that a team who have lost, conceded 9 times twice in a couple of seasons, one of which was the last time they came to Old Trafford. To say that actually, I think they're over the last few years, they've been really good under Ralph Hasenhüttl. They've clearly got a style of play, the high press, they've got a lot of energy about them, but they can do the other side where they can sit off and be defensively strong. So, yeah, I like them as a club, as a team. I like the manager. They got a lot of good players, and they'll come to Old Trafford thinking they can get a result. With Ward-Prowse, they have the best set piece taker. Not certainly in the Premier League, maybe beyond that. He's phenomenal. If you give anything in and around the penalty area, you've got to be worried. Whether it's in a shooting position, a crossing position, he's just got so much ability from a dead ball. It's ridiculous. And they've got, some really good, exciting players. Brozier, I know from Chelsea, the forwards, he looks a right handful. He's deceptively quick. He's tall. He's strong. Great finisher. Livramento, I think, might be out injured, but he's another one who looks a really good young player. But they've got some sort of more experienced players like Armstrong in the, the Romeu, good defensive midfielder. They're a good side, and I think they'll cause United problems and have more than enough to trouble us enough to get the potentially get at least a point. We've got to be better, a lot better. We've got to deal with their pressing. We're really poor against sides that press. It was under Ollie and things were different, but just remember what Liverpool did to us with that press. Southampton endeavour to play that sort of gegenpress, high press style, and are very good at it. So we've got to be on our guard for that sort of thing. And yeah, tough game. Hopefully we'll be better, because if we're not, it could be another sticky one.
I'm on mute. Sorry, I was coughing in that. I didn't realise I was on mute. Do you think he'll change the team at all based on that then, Chris? Because obviously, there's some players that are better dealing with the press than the others. And maybe the likes of Maguire needs to take a break off again. Do you think he'll change that team slightly?
I think we're limited into what we can change into right now. It'll probably be Phil Jones playing a rare game again. Obviously, he did really good the last time he played, so he might get a go. In the forward areas where, we spoke about it previously, but the fact that we've let players go means that we've not got as much in that area. I thought Sancho actually had a bright game against Brighton, against Burnley in spells, so I'm starting to see a bit more from him. So, and obviously got the goal again against Middlesbrough, so he probably had, of all the players, he probably had the best week. But I think he can freshen it up in terms of some of the players who were on the bench coming to the first 11. But beyond that, I don't think there'll be too much. And it's like a choice of fullbacks, which is probably going to be one of the ones that keeps going throughout the season. But again, I fully expect Dalot to play because I think you need an attacking defender, attacking fullback when you come up against a side like Southampton as well. So whether we might tweak the system, again, I don't think you can go with two holding midfielders in this game. I think you've got to go with one who's a bit more adventurous, which probably suggests Pogba to go alongside McTominay. Because I think Fred's out with COVID anyway, so that limits that options. That basically picks the midfield for us. And then it's who you play down the middle. Is it going to be Ronaldo? Is it going to be Cavani? Maybe even Rashford. Rashford can play down the middle, of course. Might it be something where we try a bit of a false nine with Fernandes? So we can then play Jesse Lingard in the number 10 or something like that, just to try something a little bit different, because it's a bit stale at the moment. So, I don't think we have an abundance of options as to where we can go in the key positions, because I think, there's not too much strength in depth now considering the players we don't have available for one reason or another.
Yeah, agreed. And we're currently sat in 5th in the league. And if we win our game in hand, we will go above West Ham. However, if Wolves, Tottenham and Arsenal all win their games in hand, they go above us. So we could see ourselves sat in 7th after all games have been played, if everyone wins their game in hands, that is. So, I mean, would that mean we're in the Europa Conference?
Yeah. To be fair, we might win that.
Don't. I'd rather not. I'd rather not win it.
To be fair, if we end up in that and don't win it, that's probably as embarrassing as not qualifying for anything.
It's like Spurs, isn't it? Spurs have done that this year.
Yeah, that was pretty embarrassing. Really, Spurs going out as early as they did, but they played nobody. Literally, one team that didn't even.
To be fair to them, I don't think they were that bothered.
They
were that bothered. But still, I mean, it's one of those things where United needs to turn this around before this season does get ugly, and it has implications for next season. Because I think if we end up in that Europa Conference, you can forget about Ronaldo staying next season. There's no way he will ever bring himself to play in that competition. Never mind the Europa League. He's never played in the Europa League, so you can imagine he'll probably be off at the end of the year. And like we said last week, that could be Seals losing a lot of attacking players in the summer. And the Glazers won't want that because that means they have to spend more money. And we all know that's what the Glazers don't like. But we'll wrap it up there, Chris, for another week. We're back on Sunday night at 7 p.m. So make sure you've got that in your calendar for when you come back and check that out. If you haven't already, make sure you check out all the content out on local TV, not just Manchester. There's other areas as well, like Leeds and Birmingham, etc. There is probably one for your local area. And also the content that is put out, it's not just football content, it's general content as well, out on the Facebook page, the Twitter page, and the YouTube channels. Thank you for joining me, Chris. It's been a pleasure as usual. Thank you everyone for watching, and we will see you next time. Goodbye.